The Viltrox AF 9mm F2.8 Z-mount lens versus the 7Artisans AF 10mm F2.8 lens. Now, both of these lenses are APS-C lenses and both are priced exactly the same. So, which one of these budget ultra-wide lenses should you buy? Find out next. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Let's jump straight into comparing these two ultra-wide budget lenses. Firstly, the size comparison. Side by side, the Viltrox 9mm is slightly smaller than the 7Artisans 10mm. Not massively though. I'd say the Viltrox is about half a centimeter smaller, and it's also a little less in circumference as well. Weights, the Viltrox weighs in at 190 grams, whereas the 7Artisans, it weighs in at 235 grams. And the reason for that is the Viltrox is constructed of a hard plastic, whereas the 7Artisans, well, it has an all-metal construction. Filter thread sizes, the Viltrox has a 58mm filter thread, whereas on the 7Artisans, it's got a 62mm filter thread. Focusing speed going from foreground to background, I thought they were pretty much on par with one another. But you can see the difference in how much closer I can get to my subject with the Viltrox. But I'll talk more about minimum focus distance in just a minute. Let's talk about some of the things that both of these lenses share in common. The obvious one, both are APS-C lenses for your Nikon Z crop sensor cameras like the ZFC, Z30, Z50 and Z52. They both have the same aperture range of f2.8 to f16. Both have 7 aperture blades and both aren't weather sealed. Both don't have any built-in VR or vibration reduction. Both have the same style lens hood. Although I did find the 7Artisans lens hood was just a little bit more fiddly to put on than the Viltrox lens hood. They both have a focus ring, so you can manually adjust the focus if needed. And they both have USB-C ports at the rear of the lenses for future firmware updates. And one of the most important ones they both share, and that is the price. They both come in at $199 US. Alright, so far they are pretty close in specs. Let's see if we can find something where they differ. Okay, when it comes to minimum focus distance, you can get closer to your subject with the Viltrox lens than you can with the 7Artisans lens. Minimum focus distance of the Viltrox 9mm is 13 centimeters, whereas the 7Artisans lens, it has a minimum focus distance of 30 centimeters. And you can see from these examples, those minimum focus distances do make a difference in your image. Another thing I picked up while unboxing the 7Artisan 10mm lens is that it had an auto and manual focus switch on the side of the lens, whereas the Viltrox doesn't have one of those. Also, inside the box of the 7Artisans lens, they give you a USB-C to USB cable so you can use that for updating the lens in the future. That is a nice touch. You don't get one of those in the Viltrox box. 7Artisans also give you a paper manual, but with the Viltrox lens, you have to scan the card they give you to get the manual from their website. Okay, so the Viltrox lens has a 9mm focal length, whereas the 7Artisans lens, it has a 10mm focal length. That's 1mm difference. So surely that won't make any really big difference, right? Well, let's go out into the field. Let's take a shot from the same position and see what type of results we get. So the Viltrox has a full frame equivalent focal length of just under 14mm, whereas the 7Artisans lens has a full frame equivalent of 15mm. You can see by these two example shots, you can get more in your frame with the Viltrox than you can with the 7Artisans lens. You just have to look at the tree on the left-hand side of frame there. You can see it with the Viltrox 9mm lens, but you can't with the 7Artisans 10mm lens. Let's now compare the sharpness out of both of these lenses, and let's see if we can get some sort of defining difference between the two of them. On the left, we've got the Viltrox 9mm, and on the right, we have the 7Artisans 10mm. I shot this flat brick wall going from f2.8 to f11 with both lenses on my Nikon Z52. All in-camera lens corrections are turned on. Firstly, the thing I picked up while doing this test, you can see we get more distortion happening with the 7Artisans lens than you do with the Viltrox lens. You can just see on the line at the top of the bricks there with the 7Artisans, it's just got that slightest bit of curvature at the top and bottom. Okay, so to the sharpness. Here's both lenses wide open at f2.8. Cropping in to 100% into the center, I think the Viltrox is just a tad sharper and more clearer than the 7Artisans. But in the corner, it's a different story. I think the 7Artisans is sharper in the corners than the Viltrox at f2.8. But things do change there when we stop down to f4. Both lenses show some nice clarity and sharpness pushing into 100% into the middle. In the corners now, however, I think the Viltrox shows some better sharpness than the 7Artisans lens. Long story short, the lenses were pretty much on par with one another after that f4 aperture, going to f11. But that did surprise me a little, that 7Artisans was sharper in the corners wide open at f2.8. Maybe it's due to that narrower focal length at 10mm as compared to 9mm on the Viltrox. Well, I hope this comparison between these two lenses has given you some insights as to which budget ultra-wide prime lens you should buy. For more information or how to purchase either one of these lenses, I've left you some links in the video description box below. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this comparison between these two lenses. I'll see you in the next video.